let's talk about trends. NewTopia. In NewTopia, we highlight how we are moving toward a new and different landscape, a landscape full of expectations and hope, at the same time, also a landscape full of uncertainty. Human beings react differently to stress. Some see constraint as an opportunity to do things completely different, while others crave a safe place surrounded by familiarity. For autumn-winter 22-23, as we look to our new future, our color stories seek to embrace both attitudes. Firstly, we reflect a feeling of new liberation. From science to engineering to the creative industries, there's a focus on innovation right now, that great things can be achieved in a small space of time, that boundaries can be broken in a new collaborative way of working. Our need for joy and unexpected delight has never seemed so important and so necessary. Secondly, we evince the need for comfort, clarity, and security, an urge to stay with the familiar after times of turbulence. This is because some of us crave a simpler, less complicated life. Cocooning becomes an imperative. Nostalgia for what we perceive as being a happier and better past dictates our preferences. However, while our physical lives might have been curtailed through virtual reality and an explosion in gaming, we escaped into the digital world with its universe of fantastic possibilities. Wherever we look, we see opposites. Some of us are determined to live for the moment, carpe diem, discarding anxiety in favor of focusing on self-realization, the joys of life, and the fulfillment of individual desires, while others are looking for a more caring society, one where priorities have shifted from quantity to quality and a simpler way of living. And still others are hedging their bets on what tomorrow will bring. But no matter where you stand, one thing that is perfectly clear is that we are most definitely entering a nouveau normal. And as we move beyond the extreme challenges of the last 18 months, we can see that while much has changed, we are not quite out of the woods yet. So we continue in this up and down cycle, rolling with the uncertainty, trying to determine what to design and how we do it. We look to understand and anticipate what consumers are looking for as they adjust to a different way of living. We need to know what they are purchasing, what is influencing those choices, and then do our best to create products to fulfill those needs. Companies are moving a bit slower, adapting and adjusting their product and go-to-market strategies, planning the future by incorporating what is happening now and looking at what they need to do next. The significance of nature, sustainable design, vintage style, pop culture, luxury influence, and technology are all contributors to how we will form our design strategies. And yet, while we look forward, many of the ways in which we have been living will continue for the immediate future, from our need to wear masks, as well as social distancing and washing our hands. But businesses are adjusting, and we are all finding ways to visit with our friends and family in a safe way. Is it the same as it was? No, of course not. But we accommodate, we innovate, we adapt, and we move forward. Why? Because we are determined and resilient. With the Delta variant delaying even hybrid work arrangements, still too early to tell how office life resumes, whether it be the desks we sit at or where we eat lunch. And while due to COVID, mass protests have taken a back seat, environmental inequality issues are still front and center, taking on increasing relevance. So with all that has happened, it is no wonder we continue to talk about how this constantly evolving landscape will continue to impact trends in color and design. Innovation and transformation are becoming even more central to our thinking and approach. And while some of the trends we are seeing have already begun to emerge, there is no doubt that this global health crisis and new social movements have greatly accelerated their pace, impacting every aspect of the way we live, as well as giving rise to some new trends in color and design that can be directly attributed to this pandemic. With so many continuing to work from home and potentially having to balance work and family at the same time, Bear with me, guys. Sorry. Our new working landscape has become increasingly flexible, adapting based on how we want or need to work on any given day. And while we are starting to see some companies calling their employees back to the office, many will continue to allow their teams to work remotely, either part or full-time, which means we will continue to see home offices or a space within our homes where we can comfortably perform our jobs more necessary. As part of this new work mode, technology continues to play a critical role. And this shift has also continued to influence how we are dressing as we seek out clothing that's both comfortable and professional at the same time, as well as giving us the flexibility and versatility we need to be ready for so that we can be dressed for wherever the day takes us. During the pandemic, we developed a different relationship with the natural world, embracing it not just for its beauty, but as a source of refuge and freedom, a place where we could ride our bicycle, go swimming in the wild, or take a hike in the mountains, activities that not only enabled healthful recreation, but also allowed us to comfortably relax and get back into the rhythm of what our lives used to look like. Immersing ourselves in nature also gave us time to think, helping us as we continue to go through an inner paradigm shift of how we want to live our lives both today and into the future. Nature replenishes and recharges us. It fuels our mind and body, enriches our soul, and contributes to our overall health and emotional well-being, helping us to connect to who we are and what we truly value. And is certainly inspiring our desire for a more bucolic way of life, one that is more honest, authentic, and serene. And simple, really. Nature is teaching us a lesson to slow down and appreciate what we have, to re-examine our priorities and focus in on what is truly essential. Balancing between work and leisure with a pared-back way of life requires restraint and confidence. Simple solutions and natural colors with a timeless appeal characterize our desire to move forward and reset our lives in an easy and straightforward manner, one that is less complicated and more soothing. Pragmatic and classic, it's a color story that works as a standalone, promising a mood of calm, well-being, and cocooning, as well as serenity. A palette of earthbound, organic color inspired by nature expresses our desire for warming comfort, encouraging us to take a step back and breathe in our surroundings, whose timeless appeal highlights our desire to assess our priorities and values as we seek a healthier lifestyle, one that gives us more time to think and breathe, read, talk, listen, walk, and share with others. Through meditation, yoga, natural holistic health, and beauty regimes, we begin to enjoy a slower and more organic way of life, where our homes become our sanctuary. We look at these intense autumnal ochres reflecting this feeling, whether in solids, patterns, or as a contrast color with other earth-baked shades. We see these sun-baked oranges and browns inspired by our increased appreciation of nature, also being part of this same mood, as are the terracottas, a shade that continues. What is especially interesting to see, though, is how these earthier hues are not being limited to casual outdoor statements, but instead also showing up in some more unexpected materials and surface finishes, in offbeat combinations like we see here with lilac, as well as in some dressier looks, which is a totally new way of bringing a feminine twist to tailoring and soft separates. Another design direction tied to nature is our growing appreciation of natural habitats, a concept highlighting this new era of environmentalism, biocentric approaches, and the critical life force of untouched ecosystems. With simplicity the goal, we also turn to the whites, a family of pure and cleansing colors whose pristine and unsullied appearance channels a reassuring and optimistic fresh start message, as well as uninterrupted inner peace. Easy color and enlightened pastel shades across the spectrum also help to contribute to peaceful feelings. Airy, calm, and meditative, these shades convey a promise of calm and well-being. lilacs and lavenders, as well as the pinks are the most prominent of this group. Another common reflective level of color draws on the ocean for inspiration. These soothing, cool, aquatic, grade green blues are a color family we think will only continue to gain traction. On the flip side is this huge burst of color we're seeing. The bubblegum pink trend we called out for spring and summer will continue into this fall and winter. Sweetened pastel shades, including the blues and the lilacs, continue as well. We're also seeing a level of pure unadulterated colors full of optimism and positivity, whether we're looking at dynamic, amplified, brights like grass green, neon greens, these tomato reds, carrot tones, bright and bold fuchsias, or bright and bold purples, and fuchsias, all of this clearly communicating our desire for happiness and need to positively just burst out of our homes where we've been spending a great deal of time over these past 18 months and just enthusiastically jump back into life. And you could see that when I don't have anything in here for the shows for spring, but when you start to look at all the catwalk from New York to Milan, you can see so much color and people are just enthusiastic and want to be happy and expressing themselves with these bright colors. You're also seeing as part of this, so this is now and going forward, a lot of clashing color mixes using these bright shades, reinventions of core silhouettes and quirky color statements, and dynamic color blocking where color is coming together in this good taste, bad taste mix. And let's be clear, it is absolutely of no surprise that we are seeing so much bright color. We've spent the good part of these last 18 months living in uncertainty, wearing loungewear, wearing sweats, and we're not saying that we don't still enjoy our classic neutrals. That's not what we're saying at all. Of course we do. But at the same time, at this moment, as we begin to reemerge, we are looking for colors that are more spirited, colors that energize and offer a bit of excitement. Yes, for some, there will be some overcompensation, and what they wear may be a bit over the top, but that's okay. We need to lift our spirits. And colors that give us that sense of joy bring pleasure and a smile to our face. And who doesn't want that? It's also of no surprise that the longer we live with COVID, our desire to escape into an alternative environment is growing. Fantasy renderings of these utopian fictional spaces were designed to transport us along pathways that feed into our imagination and appetite for a change of scenery. These fictional spaces offer a chance to wonder and escape, be it completely impossible or not. And while we know this new perspective on nature has been artificially created, it still gives us a way to satisfy our desire to feel we've been able to escape our present circumstances and leave our troubles behind, inspiring us as we look to a new future. Escapism also takes form in the world of gaming, which is also on the rise. These new game and activity platforms help us to alleviate pressure, redirecting our extra energy into something more uplifting. Our focus on wellness continues, self-care and physical activities that help us to decompress and boost our spiritual health, keep us healthy and strong. Technology playing a role here too. And for those looking for an easy and quick way to integrate their workouts with their work time, there's always this innovative workstation solution from Fitwork. Sustainable practices continue to be top of mind. Some of this comes through in our affinity for looks that are handcrafted, or at the very least, take on that crafted appearance. For others, it's about wanting to preserve the possessions we love, repairing, reusing, and rewearing these products, giving them a longer life. And then for others, it's about purchasing clothing that has been recycled or made from waste materials. The art of wearing long neglected clothes at the same time also plays into this ethos of sustainability. Many of us are revisiting the decision process of getting dressed, having difficulty deciding what to wear. We end up piling on a whole host of different things, resulting in a look that is kooky, counterintuitive, artfully mismatched, or maybe what could best be described as chaotic. Just as we saw with the trend of joyful dressing, the feeling here is one of excitement. Personal style is a meaningful form of self-expression that was abruptly cut off during the pandemic. And after 18 months of this pent-up energy, curiosity, and emotion, we're just looking to get back into the groove. Growing market for vintage, thrift shopping, and peer-to-peer shopping apps like Depop are another aspect of our focus on environmentalism. Finding innovative ways to build color and material stories from existing, available, and pre-loved resources. Curation, rather than creation, informs the direction to vintage and more classic colors that don't have this expiration date. We're seeing younger celebrity activists taking this route to highlight their commitment to the environment, something which also gives them sustainable style credibility. Slow fashion, another way of practicing environmentalism, creating products intended to be kept and loved forever in a thoughtful and considered way. Retailer Unsubscribed introduces only a few seasons per year, working directly to support the makers and artisans who supply their product. The pandemic has caused the digital world to accelerate, and while avatars are not new to the fashion industry, what is new is the introduction of platforms that create 3D avatars from user-submitted selfies. With digital interactions becoming a more fundamental part of contemporary human expression, the border between material and virtual is increasingly intangible, creating a sense of illusion and hyperreality. While digital prototyping was already becoming more common due to our inability to travel during the pandemic, many showed their products and collections digitally, and this approach sped up immensely. Though originally seen as a short-term solution, it does hold promise for the long term. In the digital space where you can create anything, experiments are done that go beyond conventional dress. New material and shapes can be created that only exist in the digital realm, which in turn is then influencing the physical, serving as an inspiration to take physical design as well as color expression a step further into the unknown. As environmental activism occurs around the globe, we seem to be stepping back and rethinking our approach, looking to do things differently. Today's design innovators are going beyond established norms and exploring the notion of creativity at its core. Not only are they reviving the art of repair, scavenging for alternative resources, and turning to natural dyes and green chemistry to make their products, they're also pushing for future-proof performance textiles and utilizing and bringing together biology, design, and technology, all with the intent of positively changing the future of design for good. As we continue into the second year of the pandemic, with some countries emerging more quickly than others, it is abundantly clear that there have already been seismic shifts in how we're living our lives. And yet at the same time, it is still too early to know exactly what the world will look like on the other side, which habits will linger, or this experience will inspire. Though we know some consumers will be more frugal and are concerned with the long-term outlook, others will not dramatically change their spending habits. Some may continue to hibernate, while others will not change their lifestyle. Many are staying closer to home, craving safety, stability, and security, while others see their well-being more closely linked to the creation of connections in a more caring society. At the same time, a more nervous and woke generation is questioning everything from history and ethics to climate and culture. And as we see a new world order that challenges everything in sight, and as life becomes so much more complex, we look for simplicity and clarity, turning to people, brands, and information sources we trust. So moving on to NewTopia, our forecast for autumn-winter 22-23. When we look at our color story, it's all about balance. A balance that combines the safety and security we want and need with a desire for hedonism, adventure, and fun. Put simply, our palettes go in two directions: color that soothes and color that kicks. When it comes to our mixing and matching and marrying, everything is allowed. Rules no longer apply as we seek to explore new chromatic realities. From dark to light, from the monochromatic to the colorful, colors for autumn-winter 22-23 highlight this new balancing act. Looking first at the reds, reminiscent of vintage embellishment and heritage, high visibility reds have been one of the most popular color families, showing up in-store, online, and on social, practically guaranteeing commercial success. Haute Red, our one key red for the autumn-winter 22-23 season, is a dark garnet hue that works well across all product categories and markets. Pinks continue to be a favorite across the spectrum. Our range of pinks display a new attitude for autumn-winter 22-23, moving down a notch from the heights of sporty brightness and passionate intensity into more studied jewel-like and indulgent hues. With that said, pale pinks as well as the sweeter pink shades still have a place. We love yellow for the fall season in all its expression, from the palest of sunlight hues to potent egg yolk yellows and new cutting-edge technical shades. From vibrant brights to coppery and russet autumnal country hues, our oranges for the autumn-winter 22-23 season energize and heal, bringing a sense of warmth and uplift. Browns exert a powerful influence, both natural and rich. Our range is wood, pelt, and skin inspired, with tones ranging from dark peat to walnut, touching on both the basic and the glamorous. For autumn-winter 22-23 true blues, a range from those that are electric in intensity or more powdered and mineral-like to deep and dark sea blues. While the blues can easily stand on their own, they are a good mix with the whites and the cool grays. Aqua still remains a very important part of the color card, so we see the aquas and the turquoise influence watery blues reviving us and refreshing. Our greens are richer, either glistening in an almost unreal way or as complete opposites, deeply earthed and speaking of nourishment. An important color family to consider when creating sharp contrasts or in setting surrounding colors of the same intensity. Lilacs and purples for autumn-winter 22-23 have discarded their delicate romantic associations for a modern, clean, and technical appearance that is genderless, sporty, ageless, and luxurious. Pure whites will be significant, reminding us of cleanliness and hygiene, important in any post-COVID scenario. Symbolically, too, the white family has always conveyed a message of quiet peace and new beginnings. Use these whites in traditional combinations with black to complement the line of natural classics, including camels, beiges, and honey shades, or to cap our selection of blues and greens. The blacks are a foundational shade range for autumn-winter 22-23. Keep in mind, the blacks need to be beautifully executed for the consumer if they are to underline their role in representing protection and security, power, and confidence. Quiet and non-presumptive, grays continue to be the silent power in color palettes. They support and cut across all levels, from neutral and ecru hues to acid pastels and the cleanest of whites. Many of our selected colors also have a gray tinge this season. Sorry, guys, my fault. Many of our selected colors also have a gray tinge this season, especially the blues and the mauves, which make it easy to combine them with our grays, this continuing necessary group of neutral shades. Moving into another area of the neutrals, the tans and the taupes, they remain dynamic as a choice for luxury, sustainability, and longevity. Classic and seasonless, they work as a standalone or can be called on to highlight other colors in the palette, especially our technical pastels. And here we go, the technical pastels. Pastels for autumn-winter 22-23 are hyper-modern, exuding freshness and well-being. And again, this goes back to that whole digital influence that we're seeing. As we go into the trend themes, you'll see in the totality of our forecasted palettes, our color story do reflect this new post-COVID landscape. Sorry, I'm stuck on the, not sure exactly what happened here. Apologize. Okay, one that reflects our new post-COVID landscape, one that offers us opportunities to thrive for the better. Well, it must be on a transition. I'm sorry. One that highlights our striving for a new utopia. Our first grouping foundation includes a clean white, a classic navy, a deep black, and a neutral blue-gray. This palette of trusted shades can be built upon or stand alone. They act as a foundation, effortlessly combining with other colors in the palette for the current season, or use as a transitional shade to carry product through several seasons. When we start to look at the harmonies, our first harmony is called Fundamental, and here we complement our core shades with a military green and a warm gray, creating this seasonless palette of essential color. With a desire to shed the extraneous, we look to a color story whose minimalist approach is ideally suited for a beautiful, well-designed product that is uncomplicated, practical, and durable. Domestic is our second harmony, and here we shift our focus to handcrafted products and classic designs that still look relevant decades later. And just as we saw with Fundamental, the focus is on natural materials as well as in original textures and grains that allow the color and natural surface qualities to shine through. In this palette of simple color, an appreciation of the material the product is made in is key. The focus is on raw fabrics that are self-colored, such as raw cotton and linen, heavy-duty natural fibers, including sisal, jute, and hemp, as well as hard surface materials, including clay, wood, and enamel. Handmade elements are important, as perfection is not the main goal here, which I think you can see from the visuals. Instead, we look for products with personality, are timeless in their design, and are built to last. Our second story is called NewTopia, and this is a story of seasonless radiant tech pastels of equal strength and potency, infused with an optimistic air and luminous quality. This is a color grouping that can fall in opposite directions, technical or natural, sporty or casual, material or immaterial, physical or digital. An understated pale gray, sweet pastel pink, nostalgic rose tone, and lavender gray join with our four core shades in Gazing Beyond, our first color harmony, creating a color story that is both delicate and tough, light and bright, cloudy and complex, strong and tender. In Empowered, our second harmony, we replace blazing yellow with a vivid red infused orange, a dusty blue, and caviar black, creating a spirited mix of gutsy and unapologetic color. Whether real or imagined, digital or physical, products in NewTopia have a luminous quality. In this amalgamation of odd neutrals, glowing brights, and soft midtones, we see an open-mindedness. Boundaries are blurred as we find ourselves straddling the line between the tangible physical world and a more artificial arena of imagined materials, 3D printing, and digital fabricated creations. Our third grouping, Heart, includes a dark garnet, russet-hued terracotta, a purple deep brown, and a warm orchid pink. This inclusive range of heartwarming tones creates a base for the season that could work singly or in faux tonalities across all markets, creating heartwarming combinations no matter the fabric, the finish, or the form. Color naturalness is the key focus in Heartbeat, our first color harmony, as we see our four core colors blended with a warm bark brown and a muted mossy green. Inspired by sunsets and botanicals, it is a color sweep that remakes traditions anew as it reframes the ordinary as extraordinary. In our second Heart chapter, we add a shimmering gold and a saffron yellow to the mix, creating a warmer, glowing pulse of energy that balances our taste for deluxe with sensuality. In Heart, products are created with a balance of luxe materials that enrich and delight with their tactility. Human in nature, these sensorial washed velvets, dense satins, soft felt layers, and teddy bear soft materials form a second skin connection. Embryo is a palette that brings together an original white, creamy yellow, frosted almond, and a neutral khaki, creating a statement of natural purity and essential luxury. And our first harmony source, the four leading colors are joined by a soft beige, a petal pink, and a turtle dove gray, creating a peaceful neutrality, advocating a new dawn, a story of color that opens the door to a kinder and calmer future. In Cuddlies, these soft neutrals inspired by living matter send a message of welcoming warmth, inviting the touch of physical connection. Products in Embryo display a primitive feeling that is essential and pure. There's no pretense of sophistication in these undyed materials kept to their essence, but instead we see the precious impact of the handmade. Intentionally textured surfaces invite you to close your eyes and touch them, to invite you into their organic warmth. Earth, the palette of fertile colors originating from the earth, is comprised of a vigorous plant green, a strong African violet, oceanic teal blue, and a rich, warm, earthy brown. Saturated, dark, and powerful, they form a deep-rooted base that is both organic and fundamental. Our first grouping, repositioning, is illustrative of our uncomplicated and heartfelt desire to find a fresh place, a new congruence with our natural environment. While imbalanced, we mix our palette of warm and authentic hues with cooler clay and stone tones, highlighting the harmony of color that exists in our natural environment. Products in Earth are nature-wise and nurturing. Ancient yet modern, we see a new take on primitive designs. Colors from nature are the lead in this story of products that are organic, sustainable, and always eco-inspired. As digital design becomes increasingly sophisticated, opportunities for color experimentation grow. In extraordinary or extraordinary, we see softened cyber brights such as apricot and orchid transmitting the energy of the digital realm, while a rich metallic gold lends a luxurious air. Creating contrast to these fantastical tones is a deep caviar black. We see this desire for escapism stronger than ever. In digital fantasy, this mix of sour, eclectic, and vibrant color is accented by a rich gold, takes us beyond the norm, producing an abundance of unrivaled beauty. Dark lunar colors reflecting the infinity of the cosmos, contrasted by an acidic yellow-green and infused with light by a pastel turquoise, releases the full potential of crystallized, this more alien-seeming color palette. Products in Extraordinary feature patent and high shine materials in unreal pastel tones, saturated digital effects, shimmering metallic, optical iridescence, furry and fully fronds, sorry, all in all, offering a new dimension to future-led design aesthetics. As we look at Supernatural, we see a palette that looks at color through a scientific lens. We see a deep teal, a vivid blue, a clean aqua, and a vibrant green, turning shades synonymous with life on Earth into a brilliant and surreal color masterpiece. In Scientific, our first harmony, we see cool, we see I'm sorry guys, this, I don't know, not good today. We see a medley of cool colors balancing our core palette. We see a restful sage green and a calming icy blue, slowing the energy into something more considered, setting the stage for new and offbeat color combinations. While in our second harmony, Supernatural Organic, two cool blues, one navy, one dusty blue that tempers our brighter blues and greens, pulling the palette into icier realms. There is still a lot of opportunity to create disparity here, the bright with the dull, the light with the dark. Colors can be annexed for tonal executions or mixed up to establish more contrast as desired. Supernatural products highlight our renewed appreciation of our planet. We see the land around us as a means of escape, and this idea of escapism is carried forward into products where we see shape that is unorthodox and fantastical. Big volume, highly textured design is executed in a variety of surface qualities, from super shiny to dull matte, smart materials and surfaces, that are lit from within, shimmer and move with a life of their own. Silhouettes have their roots in sport, yet want to move into something a little dressier, but at the same time be functional, comfortable, and forward-thinking. Wake Up is a story of 4 powerful, honest, and straightforward, saturated tones that remind us of life. A life that must be lived and not considered or controlled, ranging from a ruddy clay brown to a vibrant orange. These are forceful and dynamic colors that inspire spontaneous joy, unabashed creativity, and artistic expression. Colors that wake us up from lethargy and encourage us to flee the mundane and surrender ourselves to experience life both physically and virtually, tells the story of our first harmony, experimental joy. These are colors that serve as a vehicle to exacerbate creativity and optimism, taking us away from a past that prevented us from being truly visionary beings. It is through creativity and our desire for new, freer, more joyful, and more humorous creations that we will cross the frontier to create new harmonies and new associations that awaken our senses. As we look at Off Digital, our second harmony, creativity steps into the real world, feeding our experiencing by enlivening our surroundings with dynamic, expressive, direct, and honest colors. Artistic expression invades the product story in Wake Up. Each material expresses itself freely, and every object is a canvas ready to communicate, whether decorated, engraved, painted, or sculpted. Products are made with care and time. The obvious is avoided, as the intent is about taking risks and daring to be different. So everybody, it's like this. We've all been challenged by this global pandemic, no doubt. And yes, I can understand that many people want their time back, but that's not possible. Instead, we must move forward with strength and resilience. And yes, I know, with the world as we know it facing unprecedented change, we as creatives are understandably questioning the way forward, as well as debating how to use the power of our roles to send positive messaging and create that change. Many are using this time to question the system and create positive change, using their role as a platform to pave the way for new creative models, whether this be the exploration of identity, showcasing more diverse representation, to give value to local production, or to take responsibility for our impact on the planet. Aesthetics emerging with viral protection, as the need to distance protect becomes part of our new normal. As a result, high-tech materials that help preserve our safety are becoming more mainstream. For others concerned about privacy and facial biometric recognition, these types of masks form another sort of protection. Craft, another important direction. The handmade is an intrinsic value of knowledge, wise manual skills, and connection with a specific geographical area. Added to this is a search for ethical production and support to local cultures. Today, it is important to know where goods are produced, and knowing that goods are produced locally and support a specific territory is a significant added value that a product can offer. A growing community of designers and makers support the made in by working with local craftsmen, with local materials and knowledge, telling the story of a delimited and fascinating world where contemporary culture and vision meet and talk to the whole world. An increasingly impressive global movement that is compelling the industrial production to rethink its non-identity. Our connection with nature doesn't stop with the realization that we're part of it. It goes a step further by fulfilling our desire to carry it with us. Wearing nature is a strong topic that goes beyond the selection of natural raw materials. It goes straight to the roots by expressing our renewed need to take inspiration from the natural world, as well as using its fruits respectfully and transforming them into wearable items with a 21st century mindset that cherishes both heritage and futuristic visions. Looking for romance during difficult times, we seek out the exquisite color and beauty of flowers. These natural works of art have always inspired us, and now we're seeing some contemporary creatives in their ode to nature taking this to the next level, celebrating floral in a completely new way. As people search for a deeper meaning, they're rediscovering the innate wisdom associated with ancient traditions and cultures, something which in turn has led to the rekindling of spirituality. And lastly, I cannot stress enough the need for kindness. Acknowledging that we need to take care of the planet and all its inhabitants if we are to survive and thrive, we are witnessing a gentle and determined revolution to create a kinder and more caring environment within our global community where humanity can live in a more sustainable manner and where we can all respect each other, respect ourselves, and respect the natural environment. I want to just mention that content today came from some of the content, in addition to what's in View Color Planner, came from our Viewpoint Color, our seasonal color magazine devoted to all things color. You can find this on the website. We also have issue 10 in, which also speaks to this whole idea about color. I highly encourage all of you who are color aficionados to look at this magazine, as there's so much rich content focusing on what's emerging in color and design. Also, content from our partner View Publications for those of you working in the world of branding, marketing, textiles, apparel, and anything apparel related. This really is a must read to keep you informed about all that's taking place for materials and processes, the color and design trends across all sectors. This magazine is not currently available through Pantone, but I highly suggest to those of you who are looking for this type of content to do a search for it. It's certainly available in the US and through some of our partners. And of course, our Pantone View Color Planner, Autumn Winter 22-23, from which our forecast came. The link to this book is also highlighted on the bottom of this slide. And in closing with everybody, I just want to remind you all, color is energy. And the connection between the colors we wear and the colors we surround ourselves with is incredibly strong. Colors help us to express how we feel. They influence our mood and our entire being, even if we are not completely aware of it. And yes, I know that color is not a cure-all. However, a no-holds-barred approach to color, one that includes joyful combinations, personal expression, and a spirited mindset, could only bring a smile to our face, helping to infuse us with the energy and positivity we need as we continue forward. So I thank you, everybody, today for this time. Really stay safe, be well, be happy. We are moving forward. We are making progress, so we're getting there. Wishing you all a colorful rest of your day. Thank you again so much.